from your vantage point, so I totally agree with you. I'm totally on board that that pandemic has given sort of flexes the muscle of it, right? We are now stuck, so there is no other option besides just opening a laptop and just looking at the camera. Now, sort of as we are opening up, so from because you have a pretty sweet vantage point on how the world is actually, because people are actually using you for these initiatives. So what has been your observation? How far are we to that sort of progressive future where you rightly pointing out that somewhere in West Virginia would have the same opportunity as a Silicon Valley individual? So what do you think, that are we there, or do we need more hand pushing and sort of hand holding on there?
Yeah, so I think from just the perspective of a willingness of employers to consider non-traditional backgrounds and non-traditional geographies, we're probably 70% of the way there, right? Employers have come to the realization that they just they cannot hire from university to get the skills that they need. It just doesn't exist. There's not enough people with the skills they need in the world. And so they are very open at this point to hiring based on skills versus specific degrees. What we don't have now is the infrastructure as a nation to go out and train people at that based on largely government type funding programs. So private enterprise just has to step up and do it themselves. States have to step up and do it themselves. And so what does this mean? If you are an enterprise, instead of think about your two different areas, three different areas actually, right? So one is your existing assets, which is your existing talent base. How can I reskill that talent base to fill the roles I have within my company? And there's a lot of skepticism within U.S. employers, but it works, and we've proven it, right? So we work with Shell, for example, and they came to us and said, we have a central data science group that's serving 70 countries, and that just doesn't work at scale. We need to get data science skills out into the field at scale across the world. And we have an asset, which is people who understand math, geological, civil, and mechanical engineers. We need to get them trained on data science. Well, we put together a program for them, deploy that program, and now they have people all over the world with data science skills that are doing incredible things like building live streaming sensor data models that can predict oil rig failure 2 weeks in advance, get replacement parts out into the field, and save $2 million per outage, right? Like that's like a real world example of where this really does work. So that's piece one. Piece two is, instead of having a recruiting function that says, let me go find a bunch of resumes and people check my boxes or don't, you can find people who are talented, who are maybe a step or two away from checking your boxes, and then do what we call train to hire or hire to train. So train to hire would be say, hey, you're almost there. Here's a scholarship to, for example, Udacity and degree. Go complete this, and when you complete this, we'll hire you, or we'll hire you, and then we'll send you through this training program to get you up to skill. So that's piece two. And the third piece is taking a really broader view around corporate social responsibility. How do you take your CSR goals and build programs to help underrepresented groups? Maybe it's miners in Appalachia, maybe it's underrepresented minorities in inner city Detroit, whatever it is. How do you build programs to actually get those people the skills so they can participate in the digital economy? And by the way, you get first dibs on recruiting from that population, right? So there's multiple different ways that enterprises should be thinking about tapping these talent bases, these really, really smart people that just don't have currently the right skills, getting them the right skills, and getting them deployed in your business.
Interesting. So, if 5 to 10 years back, if we talk about, say, a platform like Udacity or Coursera or whichever platform was out there, and you talk to businesses about how are your digital assets transforming your workforce, right? So they point to their university, right? So every company has their U, and that is just a ginormous archive of lot of content, and pretty much onus is on an individual right? So
Yes.
it's an added bonus, and I'm already overwhelmed. I'm already bored, and now I have to sort of take myself out and take these random courses that my company thinks are relevant. Now you're talking about something very very interesting. You're talking about radical talent transformation, right? That's pretty. It basic. So from you as a technologist, running a technology to really empower a worker like me, what is your what so what does that even mean? So does that mean that you have the onus of retraining me, or you still believe that I should do the heavy lifting myself? Like, what is your role as a technologist or running a technology company to retrain this workforce?
So what we have seen and observed is that if you take programs and just publish them on a learning management system, like go back and get your master's degree in business administration, or take this, video course on data analytics. That doesn't work, right? Because your employees are busy; they have other things to do. Not to mention the fact the quality of those programs, aren't as deep as you need to actually create talent transformation, right? So if you want to really radically transform the talent in your organization, you have to build an initiative around it. And it has to be, strategic, thoughtful, and resourced. And, it starts with defining what you need, putting a plan. This is what any enterprise would do for anything except for talent, because they just haven't done it before. But, you would define, like, what are we trying to accomplish? What's our project plan to get there? How do we resource it? And how do we identify our existing skill sets? And then algorithmically map, here's where they are today at an individual level. And, maybe Susan is one step from being a data analyst and two steps from being, a SQL expert. And maybe, Bob is, one step from being a cybersecurity analyst. Right. And so, like, understanding where they are, what the leaps are, and then programmatically going after those employee groups and driving them through programs in cohorts, and then deploying them immediately in those jobs so they can actually get on the job experience. So our clients who get the highest ROI do that. They start with, what's the business need I'm trying to solve? In the case of Shell, it was like, how do I get data science skills out into the field? And let me identify the people who can be successful at that. Let me drive them through a systematic program and then get them into the field and measure the impact. If you just publish a learning platform with a bunch of videos, like, you're going to get none of that. And maybe, like, literally some of these programs, include things up to including the Art of Happiness. And the Art of Happiness is fine. It's just not mission critical or aligned to your digital transformation needs, right? And so I think it's just taking that really strategic, outcome-oriented approach and resourcing it and planning it.